Okay, so from here, I see two potential paths that we can go on.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, we can stick with the main topic at hand. That was, um, what was it? Communal activity versus individual desire.
Yeah.
Or, while we were talking earlier, another one popped into my head. It was the innate versus nurture debate. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on that.
Innate versus nurture.
Yeah.
Could you go more into depth about what that means?
Well, earlier, what did you say that like reminded me of it? Oh, we were talking about how some people, or I mentioned that some people just have it and they're great at things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe music or something. People are just very talented, and it seems like they don't require much effort to get to the high level of where they are in some kind of field or something. But do you know what the innate versus nurture debate is?
Not exactly.
Okay, so it's. How do you explain it? So to be good at something, for example, music, it's like some people are either innately good at music, like they're just talented and have a gift for it, or they're raised maybe in like a musical environment, and because of that, they're good at music. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I could see a little bit of a combination of both. Like, if you feel that you have potential or a natural talent in anything, that's good, but you need to nurture that. Or at least, like, I feel that, like, we all get this one chance. It's like, go for it. Like, find out the ends, the depths of what you're capable of as a person. And that's kind of like how I'll find meaning in things, is like, how far can I take this? But that familiarity too. Going back like 5 years or something, I wasn't even interested in hip hop then, or like the genres I currently listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got interested in that, I felt like the more hours over and over I just kept listening to songs, I'd begin to pick up on like the techniques and things that people are doing in these songs, and just like reflect like yes, practicing, having that technical skill, but like that vision, that belief that if you want to do it, you just can do it, is just like, that's like most important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just what I think.
Like, you can beat somebody who has natural talent that doesn't practice, as long as you're practicing.
Absolutely, yeah. You just gotta know. You just like have to have full faith in yourself.
I think that makes sense, but at the same time, every now and then, I've noticed this in a lot of classes, there's just some academic weapons out there, and it's very unfair. Because some people just have naturally like giga chad brains. They're so smart, and they can do literally anything they put their mind to without any effort at all. Maybe they do like secretly like I don't know, work on it outside of like class or whatever. But I swear, some people are just born with a massive brain and can do anything.
Do we know what's going on behind the scenes? Maybe they're...
Well, okay. So recently, I'm trying to get more like involved with my major and trying to like meet new people and also just learn more about it.
Yeah.
For like future opportunities and stuff, right? So over the past year or so, I've been trying to become friends with like the smartest people in class. For two main reasons. Number one, I kind of want their smartness to like rub off on me, and I want to like learn from them kind of through osmosis, like just adapt. That's not the right word. Adapt, like adopt what they know, I guess. I don't know. And number two, I want to analyze like how they are so good at what they do and how they have so much knowledge about the field. So far, all the people that I've talked to who are the smartest people in class, they don't seem to do anything all that extra. One of them doesn't even read the textbook like for classes and stuff. They just said they've taken a lot of classes, but they're so smart. Like, they could basically be a professor right now, and they're only an undergraduate student. So I don't know. I think part of it is innate. I want to say that, but it doesn't feel right to say that, because it makes more sense. I think people want to buy into the idea that practice makes perfect. As long as you practice and set your mind to it, you can do anything. I don't think I can subscribe to that belief, though, after seeing these kinds of people who are just weapons in anything that they do. I think some people are just born with that gift.
So much of it comes down to who you surround yourself with. Like, if you feel like you're surrounded by people challenging you, or as you're like in that space where
That's very
it
true.
calls on that inner growth, then that it'll manifest. It'll come into reality. That's on the exposure side. Going into the innate side, what I think that like will essentially boil down to is, what are your values as a person? Like where do you see, what do you see important to you in life? And more than whatever chemically composes of you, that belief system will transcend to and determine that capability. But,
I just don't know if I can buy into that though. That's.
I mean, why not? What would be?
I think a lot of people just like to say, if you can set your mind to do it, if you set your mind on it, then you can do it. But I don't think that's true. Why do I not believe that? I think it's just like a comforting phrase for people to say. But most of the time, I don't think that's the case. People set their mind to something and work so hard for it, especially in like the business world, right? A lot of it is just luck. Maybe there's a third variable. There's innateness, how much you practice something, and then there's luck.
Yeah, there'll always be that luck factor.
But sometimes the hardest, the most dedicated people who work the hardest don't achieve their goals. I think that happens a lot in the world. And that's kind of living proof that no matter how much effort you put into it, sometimes it just might not work out.
And I mean, nothing is like really promised in this life, but it's like embracing that process makes for so much of a crucial factor in getting to where you want to be, because it's like it's not as much as exciting as the destination is, and as much as one can dream in their free time, that it's like embracing the process will lead to so much more growth. And it's like,
that's for sure. You definitely are going to grow and develop as a person.
It's like, even if things are never going to turn out exactly the way you want them to in your head in the future, 10 years or 20 years down the road, but like what once you get to that point, or once you're all those years down the road, and you may not be in a place where you think you wanted to be way back when, that you could look back and say that you attempted it, you went for it, and you allowed yourself to grow from it, versus looking back and feeling and having hidden from all that the whole time. And it's like,
so you're saying you wouldn't be upset if you had a really good business idea and everything was going so well, and then it crashed?
I would, but the thing is
But
is
20
that
years later, you would look back on it in a positive view.
it's then like, it's like you got to recognize that certain things are not going to be within your control, but what is in your control is what you made of it. Because it's like all this time down the road, it's like all that's going to matter is that, like, remembering like what you did, not what you didn't do, out of fear of things not turning out the way they are, or the way they may end up, but what you did do, the steps you took to go for it. And I don't know, as painful as it can be to like put so much effort into something that you care about, feeling like you can't give yourself a break almost, because it's like you're like, there's that innate pressure to just keep going. Not that I'm in the shoes of someone 20, 30 years down the road in life, but that it would be ever much more painful to have that regret of not doing something. Like,
yeah, that's very true.
I want to live on the basis of like going through it, but like not as much. Like, I feel like one of the deeper fears that I would have is being all this time down the road and having fundamental regrets about what I did and didn't do at this time as a young person.
So that's your main motivation, to do something that might not generally like normally do, and that's kind of pushing the comfort zone.
Yeah, and that also kind of helps me find out what I really want. And like there's so much more to like life when you are able to identify what you really want out of it, especially when you go through different phases. Oh, hold on. Got a text message. When you go through different phases and different interests in life and different versions of yourself, that when you identify certain things that you want or believe in throughout those different versions of you, that as time goes on, you can really identify that's your purpose. That's what you're here for.
I think stepping outside of your comfort zone too, and like you were saying, figuring out what it is that you actually want in life, also helps to distract you less in the long run. Because if you're so concerned about one specific thing that it takes up all your headspace, and that's the only thing you're thinking about constantly, if you just like go for it, get it done out of your, it'll go out of your head, right? And then you can focus on the next thing that comes.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, then that'll kind of be in the back of your head for a long time afterwards.
Yeah.
And even when you're older, like you were saying, you're gonna regret it later on in life for not doing the thing that you did back then.
I really don't want to kick myself in the future over not doing something.
Yeah.
Because it's like there are certain things that as time goes on, it's like there's so many little things that can feel like so important in the moment that won't be as times
you're just gonna forget it later on.
Yeah, but like there's certain things that you will take from each time in your life, and it's like what can hold someone back so much from doing what they really want to do, like even identifying subconsciously what they really want to do, is concern over what other people may think of it, or consideration of other people's feelings about that thing.
Why do you think, like you or other people, me, why do you think people just naturally care so much about what other people think?
I mean that's just part of like when you want to be a kind person, or even like all the factors contributing to that feeling come out of the environment we live in. Like it's really easy to be insecure in this world.
That's very true, especially like with media, social media and stuff now. That's a big what's the word, a very big pusher of insecurity. But a driving factor or intention behind feeling that contributes to that insecurity is wanting to protect oneself from what can happen. But it's like once you push past that, you're like, you have the truth, you have your truth, and it's like you're so much more free. You're like your quality of life, I think, will just go through the roof in that it's possible to live that life that you never thought could exist. Yeah, the art of just not caring about other people, other people's opinions and stuff. Yeah. It's like considering how other people think in the sense of like, it's a gray line. Like when you're doing something you want and that you feel like is for the greater good, that brings you purpose. It doesn't matter what people think that don't see where you're going. It's like they're just not tuned to the same frequency as you. Yeah, they don't see the vision. Yeah, if they don't see the vision, it really doesn't matter what they think. I think if people directly aren't involved in your life, it's easier to not care about it. I think most of the time, you care. This might not be the same for you actually, but personally for me, I care a lot more about what people near me think, people that I talk to on a daily basis think of me, as opposed to like some random person on the street or some random person in class that I've like never talked to, because there's just not a direct impact on my life. Because if it's somebody that you see them consistently, and if something doesn't work between you two, then your life is going to change basically, right? So I don't know. Do you think it's easier to? Are you more self-conscious around people you know, or just random people?
Sometimes I'll be subconscious, like around, like literally like everyone, like just the idea of like another person being able to free form an opinion about me as a person or something I did.
But then it's like, why should you care about that?
Yeah, like
Because like if it depends whether or not they're directly a part of your life or not. Because if they're not a part of your life, then why does it matter if it's not going to affect anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, like in nature, like no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. It's like I'm like I can believe one thing and still feel the other. Like
That's true.
Like there, especially if I'm just like in a negative mindset, which everyone will be at some point. Just like that when I'm in that negative mindset, the feeling that literally, and no matter who it is, anyone, like no, even if they're like super close to me, that like the idea that they have free will to form an opinion about who I am or something that I did, even if I know that they look past that and see like what I'm truly here for. Like in that mindset, it's like the idea that someone has the free will to form that opinion would give me anxiety, but in a more general context, when I feel like I'm in a better place and I'm more aligned with what I believe, that I mean, as you're saying, if they're not directly in your life, then and you didn't mean for something to happen, then like whatever, people are going to get upset with you, and that's something that a better, more like honest way to rationalize that is that everyone's just going to form their own opinions, and that as long as you didn't intend for that, then people are going to get upset. That's not you. That's something internal for them to figure out.
The instant example that popped into my mind was what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago with the waving at somebody on the street that you were telling me about. But then you didn't know if they were waving at you or somebody else, so you ignored them.
Oh,
and
oh yeah. Things like that will stick with me for a while, and even when I'm talking about it in the sense now that potentially in the future, if I'm in that place, that those thoughts will come back. Like it's not like when things happen in the past, it's like it's not necessarily as realistic to just be like it never happened, but you can reframe it in your mind to where, especially as time goes on, that something unfortunate happened. It's like, oh, I didn't wave to that person, or oh, I accidentally said the wrong thing. That it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Or eventually it won't matter. It could matter for a little bit, but
you're not going to remember it 20 years later. This isn't something that you're going to regret later on in life.
Yeah, again, going back to earlier, what matters is like what you do, or even not externally, just internally, what you believe is important, that you go through with that, even if it sounds crazy to everyone else.
I like that response.
Because eventually, if you keep going with it, then it's going to make sense to everyone who sees it.
Mm-hmm. I think most of the time too, if you're more authentic with people, other similar people like you will also just naturally gravitate towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Did we talk about this last week? Where maybe just me and you talked about this off camera, but it's easier to become friends with someone naturally just by being authentic, as opposed to like seeing someone on the street and being like, I want to become friends with that person. Did we talk about that at all?
We did a bit last time.
Okay.
It seems like those two ideas that you're proposing, it's like in the beginning, it's like you can't like really know truly who someone is until you get to know them, and it's like
you don't know if your personalities will clash well with each other.
Yeah, and I feel like there's several stages of getting to know someone. Like there is a different pace at which you can get to know someone. Like you could know someone for a long time, and then and then eventually become friends. Like click somewhere down the road, or start a relationship or something. It can take time depending on where each person is at in life. A rule of thumb, I think, is that, like, I mean, you can get to know someone well over a week, a month, a year, etc. I think, I I found like meeting friends throughout the college that a rule of thumb that I've personally found is that you can really get to know someone over 6 months, because you'll get a gist in the first week, or you'll get a bit deeper in the first month, but over 6 months that you have enough elapsed time to start to get to know parts of someone that they don't talk about but just present themselves behaviorally.
Yeah, like you just start to understand how they naturally are as a person. You kind of pick up on the things
Yeah.
that they do.
Also, like, kind of like belief systems can come out at that point. Like, I guess where I'm going at is that someone can say one thing, or like, I mean, I don't want to invalidate that a direction or intention someone is putting forth, but like, for lack of a better term, saying one thing, doing another. In the first week and the first month, like, as you get to know someone, you're conversing, you're talking about things, like sharing your experiences. But over 6 months and beyond, that like you can start to pick up on like highs, lows, flaws, etc. That just like you get to know someone in a way where you're able to observe them in essence in ways they don't talk about, but just generally as they present themselves.
So the thing that you brought up just now, that was like school, like in a school setting specifically, or just in general?
In general.
Okay.
But I mean, school is definitely an outlet to getting to know people.
Because you definitely have to have like mutual interest with each other. Is the first one, and hanging out, like not in a school setting. My mind was wrapped around this entire time. I thought you were talking about specifically in a school setting. So you have to have a mutual interest with each other, and also like just hang out regularly. I think it can be less than 6 months depending on how often you hang out with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's okay. It's gonna sound stupid, but like, like 10,000 hours is like the equivalent to a mastery of a skill.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing with friendship, where as long as you have a specific amount of hours with somebody, then you guys kind of become friends.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
depending on how many hours you get in with that person, if you're hanging out for like multiple hours a week, then it's gonna be faster. If you're hanging out like once a week for like an hour, like at school or something, then of course it's gonna take longer. I feel like it's kind of difficult to say, yeah, it takes 6 months, it takes a year, because there's just so many different variables that can interfere with that.
Yeah, I mean, you do bring up a really good point in that, like, it's not, like, uniform for everyone.
This is kind of a somber example, but, like, two people who are, like, dating each other in a relationship, they have two different, like, paths that they want to take in life. Like, maybe this person wants to move to this place, one person wants to go settle in a different place or live some kind of different life. So they still love each other, but just because life takes them on two different paths, then, I don't know, they break up with each other, I guess. But still kind of love each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like,
I think that's the saddest kind of breakup. It's like, what could have been?
Yeah. Like, when some doors close, when you're on a path and that door closes, more than one door, like more doors than that one path will always open up.
Or maybe that's just what you think. Maybe those doors were already open in the first place, but you were just blind to seeing them.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, there's that. It's like
the restrictions of the mind, as you said earlier.
Yeah, when that door closes, not only like will those other doors open because you have that capacity to explore those more because that one door closed, but like it's also like it's beautiful because you realize when you're going like in a place that in life that didn't make sense to you, that these things they didn't just come into fruition now. They existed the whole time, and they always will, even when you go back to a place of not recognizing that.